Brother Kadash, giving our praises to Yahweh Bahashemi, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Kodash. This is these Edomites are bugging out over the handgun ban. And it's funny to me, because fuck the handguns, fuck all the guns, because that was Esau's blessing. Let them get rid of it, if that's what they're gonna do, which is obviously what they're gonna do. All these false flag attacks and everything they've been doing has all been leading up for them coming in with the handguns. And then it's funny because this is happening right now in Canada, and they're in the process of banning the handguns. And now you have Biden, the president of the U.S., saying that he also agrees with that, and they're talking about banning the 9mm handgun because they say you don't use the 9mm handgun for hunting. So they're thinking about banning the 9mm handgun, which is perfect because it's almost like checkmate. Because if you take away the 9mm handgun, then that means that you don't need the AR-15s. That means you don't need anything that takes a 5.56. Anything that takes the AKs, the 7.72s, or whatever, the 7.62s, the 2.23s and the ARs. You don't need any of that. That means that pretty much you don't need any other gun except for like long rifles, which are like single shots or maybe two shots, right, for hunting. So that's really checkmate. If you take away the 9mm first, then you could come for the rest of it. But just listen to how these Edomites are bugging out over this. But hey, our opinion is fuck it, let them take the guns. I don't like guns anyways, because it's a weak form of war, right? Anybody could kill anybody with it, so it's a very weak form of war. And this is what gives these Edomites their power, is these guns. But they're not going to go easy, though. They're going to fight for their blessing.
Hey there, friends. Thanks for checking in. I'm not sure if you heard this yet, but now Biden wants to ban 9mm handguns. He said there's no rational purpose for anybody to use a 9mm handgun in terms of self-protection and hunting. He always likes to bring out hunting and...
Hey, Esau is getting sloppy with this, man. Because how sudden, you have a couple mass shootings, and then now all of a sudden they're talking about banning handguns. I mean, what a coincidence.
It's like the deer are wearing Kevlar vests. This is why we don't want to give any ground. It will never, ever, ever be enough. At first they say we don't like ARs, AKs, we think they should be banned. Hunters don't need 30 rounds or there must be an awful shot. and this is what we're seeing. Then on top of it they say law enforcement agrees with us. Law enforcement doesn't agree.
And yeah, but they are going to get law enforcement to agree, because law enforcement is... They need their benefits. They want their money. They want their jobs. And if you squeeze them there, then they're gonna go along with the government already. And then you have like the mass shooting that happened, with the black people in Buffalo, New York. So that's a way I'm starting to see now. As this thing continues to go on, that maybe that was a way for them to get the Israelites or the so-called Negroes on their side. When you get the so-called Negroes on your side saying, yeah, ban the guns, they're horrible, what the ban and that, then you can almost get anything done when you get the Israelites on your side. So they're being very strategic of how they're going to do this, but they're definitely going to do it, But to that we say, look, let them take the guns. Because we don't depend on the guns. Our salvation don't come by the way of guns. We don't have faith in guns. And the guns is the sword. That's Esau's power. Matter of fact, let me read it right here. Genesis chapter 27, right? Verse 39. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling should be the fatness of the earth and the dew of the heaven from above. So they're in their kingdom right now. It says, and by the sword shall thou live, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke off from thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And one of the main ways they keep that power over us in order to slay us is with the sword, like you said he was blessed with. But the sword just meaning weapon. And one of their main weapons is their guns. They various different type of guns, 9mm, Desert Eagles. But they ain't nobody running around no Desert Eagle. But on the AR-15s is what the SWAT team would come with, stuff like that.
I you haven't heard any kind. Actually, quite the opposite. Most of the law enforcement, by far, that I have talked to say that we can't get there in time. You have to protect yourself.
Oh, yeah, you can't forget the Glocks. The Glocks are real big too.
Self-protection is the responsibility of the individual. Police show up to make the report after crimes have been committed. So by banning 9mm handguns, what they're basically saying is that they want only the criminals, the thieves, the murderers, the carjackers, the rapists, these horrible people to have the advantage.
Yeah, because who, just like I said, the Glocks, who really uses the 9mm anymore? Everybody uses the Glocks. Really, that's the biggest thing is the Glocks. You know, you could put the extendo clips on them and stuff like that, the 30 clips and all that type of stuff.
Every day in America, we see self-defense situations take place with an armed citizen. Actually, there have been studies in prisons with people that were hardened criminals say the ones that I feared the most were not law enforcement. They were the armed citizen because they will not think twice and start shooting. They are a dangerous species to deal with. The armed citizen. But I don't hear it.
What made Esau a dangerous species to deal with? That blessing that we just read that he got from his father Isaac, if you have the ears to hear, which was Yahushai, which blessed him with the sword. But Yahushai said, look, he's going to take that sword from him. And he said his sword should be bathed in heaven and come down upon Edomium. That's Isaiah 34.
They talk about that right now. I don't hear anything about that. The only thing I'm hearing is bans because right now, the liberals and some Republicans, by the way, are feeling the power. They feel they have the public on their side because nobody likes to see what happened in New York and in Texas and in other cases. So the first thing they want to do is reinstitute to their constituents and say, we're going to ban this and everybody's going to be safer. Nobody's going to be safer.
Shit, take it a step farther than that. It was all planned so they could say what you're saying they're going to say.
You're giving the criminal an advantage and you're saying that you're going to be safer. And one thing that really bothers me, and I've been reading more and more about this, is that certain Republicans are turning coat. They say, well, now that I saw what happened, I'm open to discussing what's going on with ARs. Basically, they are validating the false claim that an AR-15 can shoot itself and kill a bunch of people. Yes, it's horrible. I admit, it is horrible when you see this. But that's no different than somebody running their Dodge Ram into another vehicle, killing that person, saying we need to eliminate and ban Dodge trucks or whatever.
Nah, that's bullshit, and that's a bullshit ass comparison because you guys got this land based off the sword, not fucking Dodge Ram trucks and running Dodge Ram trucks into Native Americans. You got it off the gun, which goes back to those ancient guns with the powder and everything and the one shots and shit like that, which has advanced today to what you see is carried in the shit that he has behind him, you know, the AR-15s, and they have advanced them. So that's the weapon that you use for killing. There's a difference. There's a lot of car accidents, don't get it messed up, but the car isn't used for intentionally killing. The gun is used for intentionally killing. You see, that's the difference, you know. So there's a big difference. So it's a bad comparison to me. But he's just making that comparison because, like I said, they fired up, they riled up at this. They don't want to let go of their blessing, quick precept, you know, and they're gonna fight. And it tells you that. 2nd Esdras chapter 15. Man, it seems like lately we've been using 2nd Esdras 15 and 16 a lot. Is this indicating that these prophecies are about to be fulfilled? And there's some very grievous prophecies in 2nd Esdras 15 and 16. But 2nd Esdras 15 verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. There it goes again, the sword, the weapon. And one people should stand up to fight against another people and swords in their hands. So they're going to have their guns in their hand. And that means what? They're not going to give up their guns, man. The U.S. could ban them all they want. They could give you money. If you bring your gun in, they pay you for it to bring it back in, to turn it in. They could compensate them, but they're not going to get them because these Edomites are going to fight. They're not going to just let their guns go. This is the one thing that they will fight for is their guns. You could come in, you could take the cars, You know, you could take whatever else, but they not gonna let you take their guns. Why? And why is that? Because they guns is their power. They know that because that was their blessing. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men." That's gonna also cause sedition. And evading one another, they should not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So they're not gonna regard their governors, the president, mayors, police officers, the chief, the captains, the national guard. They're not gonna regard none of that shit if they try to come for their guns. And you can see it. You know, they're getting fed up with this shit.
You know, it's so outrageous. We never want to compromise. I hear people on our side say, well, if we just give them this, then maybe they'll go away. They're never going to go away. Have you ever heard of a ban on a 9mm handgun? We've heard that if it has a pistol grip, if it has a high-capacity magazine, if it has a stock that expands a little bit, these are all dangerous. And so they come up with all these ideas. Now, it wasn't too long ago when Biden was the vice president, and they compiled a list from here to the top of my house of all of the rifles and firearms they wanted to ban. And that now it has trickled down to 9mm handguns because you can't hunt with it. They say, well, the Second Amendment's not an absolute, but the Second Amendment is a constitutional right that gives the people the right to keep and bear arms, and nobody's talking about it. Instead,
the Second Amendment, is bullshit. You know, the constitutional right, that's bullshit. You know, and it's funny how these Edomites want to get mad when their Second Amendment is getting infringed on, but when the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which they say we have the Second Amendment, it gets infringed on all the time. It doesn't even fucking matter. If we got a gun, we can have concealed carry, and there's a problem. You know, so it gets infringed on, and nobody stands up and say, look, you're infringing on the Negro's right to bear arms, the Second Amendment. Nobody says nothing until it starts to affect them. Now they're all up in, you know, all fucked up about it.
They're saying, how do we stop this
So
from...
guess what? We don't care. Let them take them. Let them take all of the guns. That takes away Esau's power. Imagine Edomites out here and they don't have guns. Negroes out here, Native Americans, Latinos, and Edomites out here, but nobody has guns. Imagine how the dynamic changes. You see? So then that's when you get Obadiah chapter 1, that the house of Judah, house of Joseph, the house of Israel, just to sum it up, should be a flame, a fire, in the house of Esau for stumble.
Happening again. I don't hear much talk about increasing school security. I don't hear much talking about increasing the number of armed citizens for those who choose. We don't hear about that. Instead, we hear about bans, and now it's gone down to 9mm. And then once that doesn't get to the outcome that they're looking for, then it'll be, then we need to ban .357 Magnum. Of course, we need to ban revolvers. We didn't go
22.
far enough. And I'm sick of these Republicans going and saying, well, I'm open to it because I don't like what I saw. Well, I don't like what I saw. All right, this is.
See, they getting sick of it, man. But with that, salvation to the elect. Shalom.